I'm April. I'm from Bashar Communications. I've probably talked to a lot of you, and I always enjoy your phone calls, and thank you so much for all your interest in the Bashar information. I'd like to welcome you here tonight, and also to welcome all the people that are joining us from all over the world for the teleconference. It's just incredible that we're having this global energy. And I'd also like to welcome all the off-planet beings, ETs, interdimensional types. We're really happy to have you here and have this be truly a galactic event. And I know we're going to have more of this kind of thing in the future. Tonight's topic that Bashar's going to speak on is debunking the debunkers. The gullible, the skeptical, the cynical. So we'll see what he has to say about that. And tomorrow he's created a workshop or an intensive that will be, the morning is being a whole person. And it's all about connecting with your higher self so that you can work in harmony with yourself and manifest the life of your dreams. And after that, in the afternoon, he's going to talk about what he's entitled The Span, which is from 2010 to 2015, and that is the next phase of the agenda. So we're really excited to hear what he has to say about that. I know they've been really busy. Isn't that what you told me, Daryl?
That's what it feels like.
So they're like getting, I guess it starts 2010, right? So
I'm sure it started now.
Well, yeah.
It's
But
getting
I mean,
busier.
but do you think they're getting busier because they're, I don't know, what are they doing?
I think we're getting busier, so they're getting busier.
Oh. So anyway, it'll be really exciting to hear what he has to say about that. So thank you all very much for coming, and I know it's going to be an extraordinary evening and an extraordinary weekend. One thing that I really notice is that the energy just really amps up around the time that we do these events, and it's really a peak transformational time. So if you want to make major change in your life, if you want to make a shift, this is a great energy to work with in order to make that happen or allow that to happen. So I think a lot of you know I swim with dolphins in Hawaii. And for the last few years, I've been going to the Dominican Republic and swimming with the humpback whales. And it's absolutely incredible. I mean, we spent about 10 days in the water. We were 80 miles out to sea in a live-aboard boat, surrounded by thousands of humpback whales. I mean, they just all converge, and, you know, it's kind of like it's a bar scene. It's like all these whales come down there looking for chicks. And it's the most extraordinary thing to see. And on top of that, we spend a lot of time in the water. So we're in the water with the whales. There was one day we were in for probably 6 hours with a mother and her baby, just living the life of what it's like to be a whale, you know, in the water. So I'm looking at putting together a trip for February, if anyone is interested in being in the water with humpback whales. Bashar has mentioned that they are the oversoul for the dolphins. And once you spend time with them, you get downloaded with such incredible, serious energy that it really is life-changing. So if you have any interest in that or interest in swimming with wild dolphins in Hawaii, just email me and I'll do what I can to help you out. So I'm going to go ahead and turn this over to you, and we just want to thank you and Bashar so much for bringing through this incredible information and for helping us to see the kind of planet that truly is our birthright.
Thanks.
For the future. Thank you, Daryl.
You're welcome. Thank you, everyone, for coming tonight. Really appreciate it. And we're just going to go ahead and get right into it. So I'll see you all later. Bye. Thanks. Have a good nap. Yeah.
A real say good day to you this day of your time. How are you all? All right, now, first and foremost, allow us once again to thank each and every one of you and all of you together collectively for the co-creation of this interaction. Once again, each and every time you are willing to co-create these interactions with us, it forms a bridge, a link, and a connection between our reality and yours so that we can, together, more and more every day in every way, create a third new reality in which we can both interact in new ways. So we thank you for the gift that you have given to us of sharing. We would like to begin this idea, this transmission, this night of your time, by discussing something that we have labeled debunking the debunkers, talking about the gullible, the skeptical, the cynical. The idea has been expressed many times on your planet that there are unusual phenomenology that occur from time to time that many individuals on your planet either do believe or do not believe are occurring. Obviously, there are certain things that are perhaps misinterpretations of certain things. This can happen, obviously. Not every single thing that someone may think is a certain thing is a certain thing. Nevertheless, the idea of finding balance within your investigations and your relation to the idea of unusual phenomenon in your world is one that requires a clear, concise approach to remain in balance. And the idea is that what you call being skeptical is in and of itself a natural, healthy point of view, especially for your world, where there are so many deceptions that may occur on your planet, so many different agendas that may occur, and that individuals may wish to take advantage of others. Therefore, remaining skeptical can, in your world, be a healthy thing to do. However, the idea is that skepticism, by definition, is an open-minded state of a willingness to explore something, a willingness to look at what you call evidence, a willingness to understand your relationship to it, your personal relationship to it, and a willingness to allow for a new belief to come in, to challenge the old belief you may have been holding on to. Not the idea that you must change your belief, but a willingness to allow for the possibility that your beliefs, be they long held or cherished, may nevertheless require some change. The idea, of course, is that on polar opposite sides of the balance point of skepticism are the issues of gullibility and cynicism. We have said once before that cynicism, the formula for cynicism is CIA. Cynicism equals ignorance plus arrogance. Now, the understanding is that unlike the idea of open-minded skepticism where you are willing to investigate, willing to take in new information, open to the possibility of changing your point of view, cynicism is that which has its mind made up, has a belief system and an agenda totally intact and is unwilling to change. The idea being, therefore, that cynicism dismisses any new ideas that may challenge the paradigm that exists within. Gullibility, for most of you, means being open to accepting just about anything without any kind of filtration system, without any kind of discernment. The idea, however, is to recognize a fascinating fact about the polar opposites of gullibility and cynicism. They are not polar opposites. They are different versions of the same thing. Gullibility also has cynicism within it. Cynicism also contains a great degree of gullibility. Allow us to explain. The fundamental similarity between gullibility and cynicism is the same issue. I believe what I believe, and nothing will change that despite any evidence to the contrary. The gullible, in accepting everything without any kind of discernment, are actually saying the same thing. I have a belief system that I do not want to change no matter what. It's the same thing that the cynics say. I have a belief system I do not want to change no matter what. The gullibility inherent in cynicism is this. When a cynic often looks at the so-called are actually investigating the true evidence, the true story, may simply be gullibly accepting the folk tale and using that and dismissing that as if they are dismissing true scientific evidence, when in fact all they're doing is saying the folk tale may not be actually representative of what's actually going on, and therefore because the folk tale is not true, the reality must also not exist. And so by saying that, by approaching it that way, the cynic has actually gullibly swallowed the general folk tale that has been put forth by individuals who may in fact be gullible. So in that sense, the gullible and the cynical have a connected relationship, a marriage of sorts, and they feed off each other, all pushing away from each other in that sense, leaving the idea of skepticism in the center. So all we are basically suggesting here is that you, in your investigation of anything that you may hear that seems unusual in your world, allow yourselves to remain in the center, in balance with your investigation as to whether or not it means something to you, whether or not it ought to be incorporated into your belief system structure, whether or not it really serves you in a positive, beneficial way, and allow yourself to maintain a sense of discernment as to what is and what is not appropriate for you. Now, of course, we understand there are many different points of view, many different belief systems, and for each and every individual, whatever belief system they are holding to be true for themselves at any given moment is true for them at that moment, even if it seems contradictory to another. But the only reason we are discussing the issues of gullibility and cynicism in this context is because very often the idea of those who are gullible and accept everything, and those who are cynical and accept nothing, often attempt to push that point of view on others. So if you are going to have a particular point of view that you believe is contradictory to anyone else's point of view, by all means, you are entitled to create that for yourself. But understand, you are not entitled to create that for anyone else. The idea is that each and every single one of you have the power, have the given gift to decide what is true for you, but do not have the ability to decide what is true for anyone else. Therefore, in the idea of accepting what is true for you as being all well and good, the idea, therefore, of communicating it to another is where the idea of balanced skepticism comes into play, in that when you transmit information that you may feel is true for you and would never likely change, the idea of sharing that to be balanced always comes with the allowance that whoever you are sharing that point of view with does not in any way, shape, or form need to believe you. And that's not what it's about. Sharing the idea of a point of view is an opportunity to give someone an option to consider another idea, another belief, another point of view. But it is only an option. It is only a sharing. It is only an opportunity to decide for themselves whether your point of view works for them, whether it's something they can form a consensus agreement upon. But no one really needs to do that. In fact, as we have stressed several times, none of you even need to believe anything we have just said. This is our point of view. This is our perspective. This is our understanding from our civilization based on our experience, our evolution, and what works for us. Now, yes, it is true. There are some general consensus ideas and beliefs that are common to almost everyone on your planet. These are the things you have already created a consensus agreement about that are put on, shall we say, automatic pilot, so you don't have to really think about them day to day. You can get on about the business of simply living your life without having to think about the idea of whether gravity is suddenly going to cancel on you. That's a consensus agreement that there is such a thing as gravity. Nevertheless, obviously, in this day and age of exploring consciousness and beginning to realize that physical reality is only an illusion and that you create whatever you are experiencing it to be, many individuals are beginning to explore and examine the possibility that gravity may not necessarily be such a given. That solidity may not necessarily be so solid. That things are malleable, that space-time can be flexible, stretched, bent, altered, and experienced in a new way. And the more you allow your vibrations to focus on these things, the more you will synchronistically experience the results of that point of view, of course. Because this is the general consensus you have all agreed to explore, especially in this lifetime. The idea of the expansion of consciousness, which then brings the realization that physical reality is nothing but your game, your creation, your illusion, your experience. Physical reality itself, as we have said several times, is not unto itself a real, solid thing outside you. The experience of physical reality is real, but not the physical reality itself. It's just a mirror. Nevertheless, you have, to a great degree, created some consensus reality. But as that changes for several individuals, as there is created new points of view, and as there is consensus even among small groups about different points of view from the general consensus, new bubble realities are thus then created within the overall consensus agreement. As time goes on, as you proceed in your investigation of things that have historically been considered unusual, unbelievable, unreal, and start to find out that many of them in fact are real, are very believable, are in fact extremely experienceable by each and every one of you, you will thus then imbue the general consensus reality with more and more vibrations that are representative of more people's ability to see some of those unusual things actually come to pass, come to fruition, become more concrete, more stable, more experiential. That will happen over the course of time as you create time to exist. But nevertheless, in this transitional timing that's going on now on your planet, when each and every one of you are really busy about the experience of deciding what is true for you and what kind of a reality you really wish to experience your life to be, as you redefine yourselves, find out what you have been labeling things as, and change those labels to suit the idea of your true, natural, joyful selves, which is available to you all without exception. As you go through this process, all that we are suggesting to you that has worked for us is that you allow yourself to be open to the possibility that as you adopt new beliefs, that those beliefs in and of themselves are no more capable of becoming concrete than you wish them to be, and that they themselves are always open to change as you gain new understanding and new perspectives of yourself as an aspect of creation. So, if you wish to experience the idea of gullibility and accept everything, as you say, willy-nilly, that's your choice. But it will allow you to take a longer time to create for yourself the ability to discern what actually works best for you and what does not. If you wish to create the idea of a cynical point of view, be our guest. You are entitled to create that if you wish. But again, from our experience, we simply caution you that it will allow you to create more time in which to create the reality of your preference. Only the balance point is the thing from our experience that allows you to create the reality you prefer in an ever-flexible, ever-changing, rapidly accelerating manner. So it's up to you to decide what you prefer. Doing it slowly, doing it quickly, doing it in between at a pace that is comfortable for you. It's up to you. But recognize simply that all of it is your creation. All of it. And that every point of view is valid, but there are always consequences to the choices you make, mechanically speaking. Of course, many of you understand that when we say consequences, we are not discussing the issue of punishment or anything like the idea of negative judgment. We are simply talking physics, mechanically. There is always a reaction to every action. And therefore, it's about gaining more discernment about what the consequences are mechanically for every action that you take, for every stance that you take, for every state of being you choose to be in. The idea, therefore, is to allow yourselves to recognize that you can make choices that will determine what kind of experience you have. And if you are not enjoying the experience you are having, you can allow that to change by making different choices. It's really as simple as that. I know that for many of you it doesn't seem to be that easy because you have a difficult time figuring out how to get in touch with what choices you're already making that are creating the experiences you say you don't want. But nevertheless, it's actually a relatively simple thing to do. All you have to do is get in touch with the thing that you are using to define, the label you are using to define any particular experience that you are having. And once you get a handle, as you say, once you make transparent the label you have been using, whether consciously or unconsciously, to define the reality that you are experiencing, it will become clear why you have been experiencing the things that you have. Because as you label a thing, so thus then does the consequence issue therefrom and give you that experience. What you put out is what you get back, as we have said many times and call the third law of creation. Therefore, balance is the key, literally, that will unlock all perspectives to you and give you the discernment to decide. Even if it's through the auspices of figuring out what you are not, to decide what it is you truly prefer to be. Many people on your planet will take that route. They will explore many things. They will find that it will allow certain kinds of negative experiences to happen in their lives, but that may simply be their way of exploring what they are not to more clearly define what they are. And when you choose to go from the darkness to the light, in that sense, when you choose to balance yourself out, then by having gone into the darkness to define what you are not, it may be that much simpler for you to define what you are and that much easier to go into the light and create realities of your preferential choice that are in alignment with your true core self. Is this making some sense to you?
Yes.
All right. So, the idea, therefore, to simply sum up the issue of debunking the debunkers is to pay attention to the fact that when individuals seek to debunk, they are often themselves simply afraid to look at new ideas, new things. When an individual is also gullible enough to accept everything without discernment, it is also the same issue. They are afraid to see something else that they think will be something unacceptable, something distasteful, something to be feared. You may have that experience, but none of it is empirically true. There is nothing to fear in anything that you will discover. Every single thing you will investigate, every single thing, the deepest fear, the greatest joy, every single thing that you will investigate, you will always, I guarantee you, discover simply more of yourself, more of your true core being, because that's all there is to discover. However, as we said, you do not need to take our word for it. We know it works from our experience, and many of you know it works from your experience. All of you have the ability to experience it for yourselves, and we will leave it up to you to choose to do so if you wish. So once again, we will thank you, each and every one of you, for allowing us to share that point of view as a potential idea to take in, to absorb, to use as a tool in your lives, however it seems appropriate for you to do so. And in return for the gift that you are giving to us, we ask you now, how may we serve you? You may ask your questions or bring up your subjects if you so desire.
So those of you, maybe a few people would like to come. I know. So in the meantime, Bashar, we have some listeners.
One moment. How about the nice time instead of the meantime? How about the kind time?
I vote for that. The
All right.
kind time.
In
I
the
like
kind
that.
time.
Okay. We have listeners that reach us through News for the Soul Radio.
Yes.
And also on the website, we have a place where people get to ask you questions.
Yes, we understand.
So I'm going to ask you a question from one of those sources.
All right.
Okay. And that question is, we'd like you to talk about climate change and global warming and explain to us from your perspective what's going on and basically find out how we can best engage in helping the situation.
All right. First and foremost, recognize, yes, many of you have the understanding that to some degree your technology and the creation of such things as pollution and so on and so forth are accelerating certain kinds of conditions on the planet. This is so. Nevertheless, what you are accelerating is a natural cycle that has occurred on your planet many times. There have been many warming periods, many cooling periods. Now, because you have arrived at a certain point in your technology where you are capable of affecting your environment more than ever before, you have accelerated the natural warming cycle that is going on now. This is actually right now the end of your ice age. It's been going on for a little while, but this is actually now the ending of it. And when it continues to end over the course of the next couple of decades of your time, you will find that some of the oceans will rise as they did before. The approximate average over the entire span of the initial phase of the warming, which will be several decades long, the entire rise of the ocean will be approximately about 10 to 15 of your feet. The idea, therefore, is that in some places this will happen slowly, although there will be some places where when ice dams break, there will be immediate inundation. And it should be paid attention to prevent the idea of loss of life. Nevertheless, once the idea of the warming trend continues, you will then find that, like the cycle has before, it will ultimately cycle back into a cooling trend as well, as the planet has done, going back and forth and back and forth and back and forth for many, many, many millions of your years. The idea, therefore, however, is to understand that even though it may be a natural cycle, the recognition that you have the capability of accelerating it puts you in touch with your power and your effect on the environment and the choices that you make. It isn't even so much the idea of destroying the world as it is simply the idea of recognizing your responsibility to choose what kind of an experience in reality you actually prefer to have and make the choices that are in alignment with that. Remember that your planet has gone through many things that are far more destructive than you are actually even capable of manifesting. Gigantic asteroid strikes, solar flares, all sorts of things have happened to your planet that have extinguished life again and again and again. The idea, however, is now you have arrived at a place where you are recalling events, bringing together memories of other lives, other experiences. This is a culmination kind of age on your planet, where you are capable of drawing from the experiences of many thousands of years of lives, bringing them all to bear, and deciding for yourselves how you wish to be, what kind of reality you wish to have, and acting accordingly. So the idea of doing this at this time of this natural cycle is forcing you into a situation where you have to face the choices that you make and really come together to decide what kind of reality, what kind of world, what kind of civilization you really wish to have, and how you wish to relate to nature, how you wish to relate to creation, so there can be ease of creation instead of the idea of creating catastrophic shifts, catastrophic circumstances that are for the purpose of shaking you and jarring you to your senses. You don't have to do it that way. So as you learn to ease up, lighten up in your relationship with the idea of all things in nature, You thus then have the ability to shift yourselves to parallel reality after parallel reality that are already representative of the kind of world that you prefer. Because that's actually how the world changes. The world you're on never changes. It always exists exactly as it is now. It's just that when you change yourself, you change your frequency, you shift yourself to the frequency of a parallel reality Earth that is already on that vibratory level, that is already representative of the kind of shift you have made within yourself. So in essence, you change nothing but yourself. And that's how you apparently change the world. Does that make sense to you?
Yes. Yes.
Are you sure?
Oh, yes.
All right.
Hello, Bashar.
And to you, good day.
It's a privilege to speak with you in this manner.
It is an honor for us to communicate with each and every one of you as well.
My second question actually dovetails with your last answer.
All right.
And
thank you for your synchronicity.
Yes. What I wanted to ask you is that when you go back in time and you alter or interact with a past,
yes,
like such as ours,
yes,
you are creating an alternate reality for yourself to some degree and can choose to go back to that alternate reality or to the one that you started from. Is that true?
Well, yes and no. Would you like me to explain?
Yes, please.
Thank you. I will. First of all, of course, recognize that when you say back in time, that's just a linear euphemism. I'm not really going back in time because time is an illusion and all realities exist at the same time. Make sense?
Yes.
All right. So since you know that all realities and everything in existence all exist now, and that the so-called past and the so-called future are just illusions, they're just convenient space-time linear names for other simultaneously coexistent parallel realities going on right now with this one, in that sense, I haven't really altered anything. We are interacting with whatever parallel reality we are interacting with, and as we interact with it, that becomes the history of that parallel reality. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Therefore, we can choose to go in different directions. We can choose to create different experiences, and as we do so, we are, of course, shifting, as we have just described, into different parallel realities in order to have those different experiences. But we aren't really altering time because everything already different experiences. But we aren't really altering time because everything already exists at once. It's just that we're shifting into parallel realities where such an interaction is already part of the definition of that parallel reality. And in that context, we are changing nothing except ourselves. Make sense?
Yes.
Does that answer your question?
Sort of.
Oh, all right. In what way do you wish to explore this in more detail for clarity?
From the physical aspect.
I am speaking from the physical aspect.
Okay. Well, it exists all at once.
Yes. As we said, it is similar to the analogy of your television set on Earth.
Right.
Where you know you have many different programs that you can experience all at the same time. They're all there at once, but you only get the one that you're tuned to. But when you change the channel, you get a different reality. You get a different story. So yes, all physical realities, all dimensions of experience, all parallel planes, all ideas of past, present, and future, all exist right now, simultaneously. They are just separated by different frequencies in the same way that the different television programs are separated by different frequencies.
Okay. I understand that you're partially physical.
Yes.
But you're also very non-physical.
In our evolution at this time, we are quasi-physical.
Yes.
Shifting, in a sense, back and forth, vibrating in a quasi-physical, non-physical energy state. Yes.
Okay. From my perspective, I'm very serial. I'm just going from one moment to the next moment. And
yes.
It's all like the...
That's your perspective, yes.
Like the film on the projector running.
Yes.
So I was wondering, since you are able to experience this sensation,
yes.
I was wondering, do you...
Though not as tightly as you do.
Okay.
For us, it's like looking at several film strips at once and being able to go between them.
So it's a multi-experience.
It is a multi-dimensional experience, which is why we often refer not to a universe, but to a multiverse.
Oh, that's awesome.
All right, it is full of awe, if you say so.
Okay. I had another quick question.
Yes.
Where do we remember? Trying to understand the differences in higher mind and physical mind in the sense that
Where do you remember?
From the standpoint that 25,000 years ago that we had chose to forget that we are unconditionally loved,
yes,
and so forth.
Yes.
And that it seems like that since the higher mind understands our path ahead, that it would also understand that we were unconditionally loved.
Yes.
And so it knows all that. I was just
yes.
trying to okay.
Yes.
Thank you. You answered my question.
Well, thank you.
To
go further, you remember from the present. Because that's all you're doing is literally remembering yourself, pulling yourself together to be in the present, where access to all information exists all at once. So memory is not a thing in that sense that happens in the brain per se, except that you can allow the brain to configure itself electrochemically, neurologically, to be the kind of flexible receiver that will allow you to know what you need to know when you need to know it. In that context, in our civilization, we have absolutely no memory whatsoever. We remember nothing in the way that you mean it on earth. But we know what we need to know when we need to know it. Therefore, it works just as well as having what you would call a perfect memory. So the idea is to simply live in the moment, live in the now, live in the present, where all information exists, and you will tap into whatever information you need at that moment. You won't get it a second sooner than you need it, but you won't get it a second later than you need it either. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Does that help? Yes. Thank you.